Take a look at what came in the post today, folks. It's Foolish Fishes, folk and fairy tale cards of fate and fortune. I spent basically the second half of the summer making these cards, collecting 50 different quotations from various fairy tales from, well, all of these books and many books that I've got hidden around the house with lots of traditional folk tales and fairy tales. And I cannot wait to show you guys how pretty this is. Look at this. So this is a print-on-demand deck, right? It comes in this little mint tin and it's made of aluminium. And this is what the back of the deck looks like. This is what the front of the tin looks like, should I say. So this is an illustration that is by Arthur Rackham, the, in my opinion, undisputed master of illustrating fairy tales. And this was the frontispiece to his Irish fairy tales compilation. And yeah, so if we open the tin, you can see that there's a little fold out leaflet that tells you how to use the deck, gives you a little idea of why the deck works and how the deck works. And yeah, it's kind of printed upside down on the second side, but that's basically the only flaw that I've found with this so far. And yeah, I just wanted to draw your attention to what's written down here, and I did want to make a special note to thank Carrie Paris, just whose help in creating this deck was incredible. So you can check Carrie's work out at carrieparis.com right there. Okay. And then, yeah, you can have a little read there of how best to use the deck. By all means, you know, do a little screenshot there and get an idea of what's going on inside. And this is what's on the front of the equivalent of a little white book. I mean, it's not exactly a white book. It's a tiny deck and it's a tiny description of it. But this is the deck, folks. This is the deck. You can see the backs of the cards here. So once again, these are adapted from Arthur Rackham's works. Arthur Rackham made lots of little silhouettes, and so I used those. And he also made something like a wallpaper in the style of William Morris. And this was a tree that he made for those wallpapers, and I just added those 5 little stars as an echo of those 5 leaves, and I just really like the final outcome. And this is what the cards actually look like. And yeah, there are 50 different cards, each with a different quotation, yeah, taken from those fairy tales and folk tales. Now, I've tried to do my best to ensure that as many situations as possible were captured in these quotations. You know, you get so many decks where it's basically saying the same thing over and over again. And in my opinion, a deck is a vocabulary that you're giving the universe to talk to you with, right? And so if every single card is basically saying everything will be fine, then all the universe gets to use as a sentence to speak to you is everything will be fine. And on the contrary, if everything's saying, you know, work harder or you're never going to find the love of your life or whatever, then that's the only sentence that it can actually come up with. So I wanted as broad a spectrum of possibilities, and hopefully as you're looking at these, you'll get an idea of just how broad these possibilities really are, so that when you're drawing a card and asking for an answer, there are plenty of cards in this deck to actually tell you what you need to know. So I've been working with this deck since I received it just a couple of hours ago, and I found a few things that I think are worth talking about. And the first is that the deck is a little bit shy. And the answers that I was getting straight out of the pack was all, I'm sorry, I'm not sure, you know, things like this. And then after speaking to the deck reassuringly and thanking it for its service and telling it that I know that it's actually capable of giving some really great responses, because when I was working with it as just as a series of quotations rather than as a physical deck, the answers that it was giving me were really insightful. So, you know, just speaking to it kindly and speaking to it in a reassuring way. Didn't appreciate being told not to worry. It did appreciate being told why it shouldn't worry, right? So, yeah. And this might sound a bit weird, and you know, but it's, you know, every deck has its own personality, and thinking about it, it made sense to me, of course, because thinking about, for example, the Thoth Tarot, right? It comes into your life and it tells you that you're stupid and you're doing everything wrong. You know, it's essentially like getting Aleister Crowley in your house to tell you how dumb you are. That's an oversimplification. I'm very fond of the Thoth Tarot. But then you think about the Rider-Waite-Smith Tarot and how that's a great teaching tarot, right? It's a really nice tarot for learning the tarot. And you think about what the group of people who put that deck together were like and what their objectives were, and, you know, how much they influenced the world, and how, as a result of their work, we actually have an occult scene at all today, you know, and so on and so forth. And, you know, this is my first deck, and so of course I am a little bit anxious. I am a little bit nervous about letting it out into the world. This is my little baby, and it kind of I didn't expect it to come across quite so obviously in the responses, but once I'd spoken to it a little bit, you know, gently kind of thing, right, just to tell it what I know that it's capable of, then the good answers started to come out, and it was just really, really nice and to the point. And that's kind of what I want out of a deck, right? I want it to tell me what I need to know in no uncertain terms, and that's kind of why I appreciate the Qing so much, and it's to extent what I hope to have reproduced in this deck. And so far the results are really good, in my experience anyway, so hopefully they'll be just as good for you guys. Shall we do a little demonstration? Shall we try the cards out? Let's see. Let me think about a nice question. So we could ask, for example, what would be some good advice for somebody using the deck for the first time, for somebody who's never had any access to this deck, using the deck for the first time. Tell us about that situation, okay? So let's go with that, and I'll try to do no cuts so that, yeah, you can see I've been shuffling the cards, and this is what I'm going to do. I don't like taking the top card, so I'm just going to go through the cards and feel for something that feels like the right card to give you. Possibly this one? Okay, let's see. Rubizal is the name of the folk tale. So most of the folk tales in here, most of the fairy tales in here are very well known. There are one or two that just came up. They came up because they were useful, right? I created the deck by bibliomancy, so going through the pages of well-loved compendiums of folk tales and fairy tales. And yeah, so some of the tales are not very well known, and so Rubizal, I guess, is one of them. Let me just maybe get a close-up on this. Rubizal, and this is what it says. The gnome tried hard by every means in his power to please the princess and win her love, but little did he guess the real reason for his lack of success. So you see, this is kind of what I was just telling you about. It's a little bit nervous. It's a little bit anxious. It's not sure what to do to please, right? So that's my advice. Just speak to your deck a little bit kindly, and then yeah. So let's ask it. I have spoken to my deck kindly. So let's see what it can give us now. I mean, I know that it's a little bit camera shy as well, right? It seems so. And I suppose this makes sense also in the context of fairy. Fairy don't particularly feel comfortable in society, right? They tend to stay away from people. They tend to only show themselves tentatively, kind of thing. So let's ask it something like, right, I'm planning on making a series of videos on magic in relation to relationships, right? So how to get a relationship, what to do when you're in a relationship with magic and things like this. So let's ask it, is there anything that I should know about this? Is there any advice that you can give me with regards to making that series of videos? So once again, I'm going to just feel out for the right card to pick. And yeah, this one feels good. All right, let's let's have a look at that. So this is the Musicians of Bremen. And it says this: I see a table spread with delicious foods and drink, and robbers seated at it, making merry, answered the ass. If only we were there, said the cock. Well, I guess there are many ways in which this can be read. First of all, it sounds positive. It sounds like, it's telling me, well, you're talking about something in the future. You're talking about something that you haven't really started doing yet, although that's not quite true. But, you're looking at something that would be quite good, right? If only we were there. So I'll take that as an encouragement. But I don't know why I didn't see this earlier, folks, but the donkey and the cockerel here, we're not using those words. We're using some more traditional words for those, and I don't know. Maybe it's recommending that I don't shy away from certain aspects of relationships. So. Okay, I'll take that. Maybe that wasn't the most, should I say, safe for work card that I could have drawn, but it hopefully gives you an idea of how the cards actually respond in context. Thanks for that. I was just telling the public that you're a shy deck, but okay, that's fine. Let's ask for another question. I'm going to ask one last one that can be possibly useful for anyone. What advice could you give to people for whom magic hasn't really worked traditionally, and they're still a little bit skeptical, and they've picked you up as a deck, and they want to know anything, like what can you say to that? What can you say to them? So once again, let me feel out a card. Okay, kind of an early one here. And it's the Princess and the Pea. Let's have a look. The Princess and the Pea, what is the quotation? It was a princess standing out there in front of the gate, but good gracious, what a sight the rain and the wind had made her look. So for me, this means it doesn't look like the craziest, most impressive thing, but it's actually a princess, right? So don't allow your first impressions to be your last impressions. All right, this gives me an opportunity to give you a look at the coating on the cards. I've requested a UV coating just to make the cards last a little bit longer. And I've also taken your advice. I asked you guys in a poll if you would prefer to pay a little bit more to get a linen finish. And this is the linen finish, and I think it's really nice. It's actually quite subtle. Looking at the card like this, it doesn't feel crazy. It doesn't feel like it's grotesque or anything like that. It actually just gives just enough texture to the card to make shuffling really easy, to give the card a really nice presence in the hand. There's just a very, very slight texture, really just enough for it to be nice, and nothing too pronounced. So there we go. That is the Foolish Fish Folk and Fairy Tale cards of Fate and Fortune. And the links to purchase it from thegamecrafter.com is all down below. The cards are produced in the United States, and they are shipped from the United States as well. So if you pay for urgent and I don't recommend that you pay for urgent unless you really need these cards today. But if you pay for urgent, then they're produced pretty much the next day. If you don't pay for urgent production, then they're produced by the end of the 30-day period pretty much, okay? And then they ship from the US as well, so there are options. If you're living in the US, there are options to get the cards delivered very fast or not so fast. If you go for the not so fast options, then they're delivered in 5 to 15 days, I think, after production. If you live abroad, if you live outside of the United States, then yeah, the kind of normal prices for shipping tend to take around 30 to 40 business days for shipping, which is kind of okay. You know, you'll definitely get these as stocking fillers if that's what you're hoping to get them for. So yes, I'm absolutely delighted with Foolish Fishes Folk and Fairy Tale Cards of Fate and Fortune. I think that thegamecrafter.com have done a really nice job of showcasing what I did, right? And so hopefully you'll enjoy your deck when it reaches you, if you decide to pick yours up. There we go, folks. Thank you ever so much for watching. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe if you haven't done so already, and share the video. And if you'd like to support the channel, of course, then the best way is to sponsor me on Patreon. A couple of dollars every month goes a very, very long way. And I just want to say thank you, a big, big thank you to everyone who already supports the channel, especially the Level Infinity members, David Venturini, Caitlin Kopok, Linda Hendricks, Stephen Hunter, Susanna Red Elfs, and Thomas. Thank you so much for your support. And thank you also to all the Level 3 members whose names you can see scrolling up on the left over here. Take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and see you very soon with another video. Bye-bye.